Okay, so hello again to any new joiners. I am Louise, I'm the Head of Sales at Prospect and I'll be taking you through the webinar today. So let's just go quickly through this short agenda that we've got. So firstly, I'll be answering some questions we have already been sent prior to the webinar. So we'll run through those quickly first and do some answers on those ones. Thank you for anybody that sent those initially through from following on from the email yesterday. And then secondly, I'll open it up for anyone who would like to ask any questions today during the webinar. So I'll show you how you can do that as we go through and once I do open that up. Before we begin, I thought I might just explain to you a bit about Prospect 365 and just wanted to highlight some key reasons our customers are actually moving from version 6 to 365. So Prospect 365 is a cloud-based solution which is hosted on Microsoft Azure. Microsoft take uptime and data security very seriously. It gives our customers higher uptime and the highest levels of data security. Two things that are obviously really important in any business. By hosting a database, it does also remove any internal network costs for you and removes the onus on you of supporting and maintaining the database. So also with a fully hosted solution, the database is accessible from anywhere on any device. We had a situation actually a few months back where most of Prospect Soft couldn't make it into the office due to lots of snow. With our hosted CRM and our hosted phone system, all staff are able to actually log in and work from home with no disruption to our business or to our customers. So it's actually really good to kind of have that fallback as well. It's, as well as all the benefits of a hosted solution, the Prospect 365 platform has also been rewritten from the ground up. It's got lots of new and exciting features designed for wholesale and distribution businesses selling from stock. As well as that, we've also rewritten the new the CMS platform and a product manager to go along with that as well. So the rewrite also includes a new admin portal and configuration options, allowing you more control over your solution with some new imports and some data management tools that you can actually use. So there are actually lots of reasons our customers are, and we're also encouraging our customers to migrate over to 365. Some of these you might be already aware of, but there's loads of information you can find on our migration page on the website. If you have any specific questions on why you should migrate, please ask during this webinar, or you can also speak to a member of the Prospect Soft team in your own time after this webinar if you want to as well. Okay, so let's get on with answering some of the questions that we've been sent through. So I've grouped these. We have been sent some obviously specific questions relate to some specific topics. So the first one I'm going to cover is the cloud hosting and a couple of questions that we've been asked surrounding this. Okay, so the first one is, can my sales team use Prospect 365 out of the office? So yes, actually Prospect 365 is perfect for your sales team to use wherever they are. The Prospect Soft database can be accessed from any device just via a browser. So you do need an internet connection, but your sales team can use the CRM at home on a PC, in a customer meeting on a laptop, out and about on a tablet and mobile phone. And in fact, I use it on my mobile just before I go into customers, just to check on, the situation. And more importantly, when I get lost, I also use a link on Google Maps from the CRM as well. So it's actually fairly handy to have that on your mobile device. So some of you will also obviously been on version 6 for using our network users together with remote users for your external sales team. So the remote users on version 6 don't require an internet connection, they're offline, but whilst the database now requires an internet connection to be used, it does not differentiate between internal and external users. So it does ensure all users are working from the same database now as well. So everybody gets the data in real time. So an external salesperson updates a lead, someone in the office can see that straight away, and equally if they place an order, that goes through to the office as well. So this also means there's no delay in the information moving between departments. It also it removes the support burden of replication. So obviously replication was used for our remote users on version 6 to keep the databases up to date. So for the users externally, internally, they can keep the data up to date with each other. But that replication is an old tool now. It was really good back in its day, but it's now old and an unreliable technology. So really good to remove that as well. Is my data secure in the cloud? So actually, this is a question we get asked quite a lot by our customers, and whether or not the cloud should be trusted. The truth is, all of us work in our personal life in work or in our personal life use the cloud. So if you have a website either with us or with another provider, your data is hosted already. And some of you use marketing platforms, the one that we have, Communicator, or a similar one. And again, these are all hosted solutions that you're already using. And actually, away from work, you will almost certainly be using some cloud storage to back up your phone or your pictures. Most phone apps now rely on cloud computing fairly heavily. And some of you, like me, might be Netflix junkies, and again, that's all hosted. That doesn't really answer the question, but it does give you an idea on how the world is changing and how important the cloud is in everyday life. So going back to the question in hand, in reality, yes, your data is secure, but this does rely on your cloud provider and the measures they actually take to secure your data. So most of our customers don't have the means or the money to ensure their data is fully safe on a server or in a really hot cupboard somewhere in the office with backups hanging around on tapes or however you currently manage that. The backups usually aren't tested, the tapes aren't tested, so it's quite a risk to you guys managing it in that scenario. One thing to also mention is actually last year, a fairly well-known virus of WannaCry affected NHS and it affected a lot of our customers as well. But it's worth noting that the customers that affected were on-premise customers that had version 6 and had on-premise databases and stuff like that. They were the only ones affected. Those with the hosted databases weren't actually affected and their data was safe. You know, we had one customer that actually lost all of their Opera and Prospect soft data due to that virus. So again, it's just not something that our customers tend to be able to manage, you know, as well as bigger companies can. And the Prospect 365 solution is actually hosted by Microsoft Azure, which I mentioned earlier. It is their global platform, cloud platform, and their investment in security and data protection is huge. I think it was, I don't know if it still is, it might be more now, but it was like $1 billion a year. And obviously something they clearly take very seriously, spending that kind of money on that. They also comply with ISO 27001, which is the industry standard for security management. And we also take security very seriously at Prospect Soft as well. We're currently hosting hundreds of customer databases. We have the same ISO accreditation that Microsoft have, and just having these ISO accreditations just means that you as our customers can be confident that we are applying to national standards and best practices to ensure your data is secure. And the actual accreditations are audited every year, and actually we've just recently had our annual audit, and I believe we sailed through that. So you are in safe hands with Prospect Soft and clearly Microsoft as well. The databases that we also host on the Azure cloud for all customers are encrypted within the database, but also when the database is in transmit as well, so going to and from other users over the internet. And we also use things like third parties to test our security regularly. So we are committed to keeping your data safe, but we understand it is, pretty important for our customers to make sure your data is safe, and we're continuing to take measures to ensure that. So if you do have any further security questions, you can speak to somebody at Prospect Soft whenever you need to. You'll be able to kind of hopefully mitigate those worries for you. But equally, we do have a security page on our website, which you can go to and see lots more information about security, whether it be from us or Microsoft. Okay, so then the next group that we've got is the migration process itself, and what you can expect from this as a customer that is looking to migrate to Prospect 365 from version 6. So what happens to my bespoke plugins and add-ons? So firstly, it's worth noting, or worth mentioning at least, that most of your data will automatically migrate over from your version 6 to Prospect 365, such as all your standard fields, the data within those, and some documents, etc. But clearly, a lot of our version 6 customers have had their system a fairly long time, and there will always be some custom features that our version 6 customers do have, whether that's from a small report or some custom tabs that we've added for you along the way, or then going back onto the more complex add-ins or plugins that may have been implemented for you for a specific process that that is unique to you as a customer. We actually complete a process with all migrating customers to ensure that Prospect 365 platform will allow you to carry out all your daily processes still. And the initial step of the migration process is to review the current system that you've got. We have scripts that we run to help us understand the items that may not migrate automatically from version 6 to 365, and we can try and work through those with you and work out a plan for the migration. But it also, that this review process allows our customers to kind of take a step back from the CRM that you're using at the moment on version 6, look at your processes internally, what can be modified or removed as part of the migration, which is something that has been very common amongst customers that have already migrated. I mean, a lot of bespoke that we added for customers over the years, was maybe to create a bridge for a shortfall in the version 6 software that we created, which may now be included in 365 because of all the new features and stuff that we've got, or it was to provide support for a process that was put in place historically in your company, and now is only used because that is the way you've always done it, and maybe isn't the most efficient way now, and there's better ways you can do it with new technologies and so on. So it is always good to have that review in place. But ultimately, we do help customers review and scope out the solution. Should you like the look of Prospect 365, and in some cases it does mean removal of bespoke and retraining staff on how to use the core features instead. But in other cases, it has allowed customers to take the opportunity to rejuvenate the CRM that they've got and their processes, and they've taken project time from us to either rewrite existing bespoke or create new bespoke using the new web technologies to support maybe some new processes that you've got in place. If you think you have any bespoke areas in your system, or you want to just discuss this bit a bit more, then please contact the customer services team or your account manager. We can begin that review process with you, run those scripts, and just kind of have a look at your database and see what things may or may not migrate over, or if there's anything we can do better with the functionality in Prospect 365. Am I able to test Prospect 365 before I migrate? Yes, actually, we do have a test drive process in place for all migrating customers. So this basically means that we take a copy of your current version 6 database and we actually migrate it to Prospect 365, but in a sandbox environment. So it allows you to test 365 complete with all your data, and you can set up a number of users in different departments and let them test their processes. And that can all happen without actually interfering with your current data on your live version 6 database, and users can carry on and use that as normal. So some of you might already be in this test drive process that are on the webinar at the moment. If you're not, but would like to pick up a test drive and want to start having a look at it in a bit more detail, then again, please contact the customer services team or an account manager at Prospect Soft, and we'll help kick off this process for you. We also have, you can see on the screen here, there's a link on our website if you go to the migration page, which allow you to actually run a test drive yourself. Again, it's just worth noting, if you do have any bespoke, without doing any kind of work to move that over, such as reports and stuff, it will just be the core 365 database that you get on the test drive initially, but it will at least let you to have a look at the functionality and the features, and just kind of go through the process and test that with your data. How long does the migration to Prospect 365 take? So you can see I've got a picture of a piece of string there, because actually that is the answer. I wasn't actually sure when this question was asked whether it was directly related to the full process of the migration from testing and configuration, etc., or if it was just the actual migration process of getting the database migrated. So I thought, maybe I'd cover both, and actually the piece of string does relate to both of those. So if we're taking the full migration process from start to finish, so from your initial interest of migrating, testing, doing some configuration and so on, it is very dependent on the work that is required. If you're looking at a rejuvenation project as part of the migration, you could be looking at months to migrate. So some customers have actually just needed a small bit of configuration and have actually migrated within weeks. So that does depend on the review process we do with you and what we decide together that your migration needs and what plan we put together for you. But if we're talking specifically about the time it takes to migrate your database, so when you're ready to go live and we actually are, we get ready to actually migrate your live database, then this is again quite different for different customers. The time of the migration depends on quite a lot of environmental factors that we can't predict, such as speed of your internal networks, the size of your database, and any configuration scripts we might have compiled during the rejuvenation or migration process. We'd need to deploy those, and they take a bit of time. So it does kind of depend on what type of migration project you actually have had. And just to give you an idea, I mean, some migrations have been kicked off for customers and completed in an evening or overnight, but others we've had to plan for weekends if the database is particularly large and takes maybe a day or two to migrate all the data over. So whilst I can't give you an exact idea on the timings of the migration process, we do actually carry out a final test drive. So once you've done all your user testing, we at Prospect Soft and the consultants run a final test drive from your live database on your server. So when you're ready to migrate and all the project work's completed, if there is any, obviously, this then allows us to get a better idea on how long the migration of the database will take, and we can then discuss and outline a migration plan with you and get a date booked in to suit that. So I can't give you an exact answer, but hopefully, you know, as part of the testing process and the conversations you have with us, you'll definitely know how long it's going to take nearer to the time of the go live. Okay, so the next section we've got is usage, which is obviously a really popular subject with customers looking to migrate to 365, but it's usually very specific usage questions about their processes. So I've tried to pick here for the webinar just a couple that can be answered a bit more generic to all customers. So hopefully, I mean, you all have your specific ones, but again, we can answer those, you know, together with you during your migration. But let's have a look at what we have got on the generic front. So can I get trained on the new system? Yes, essentially, you definitely can. We take training really seriously, as we believe this will ensure our customers get the most out of the system. We actually have loads of new functionality that we want our customers to take advantage of in Prospect 365. And we're also releasing new training materials via our Academy site, often at the moment with all the new features that are coming out. So the Academy site is just, you know, a place where you can go and look at articles and stuff. So it's updated when any new features are released. We also have an online chat facility as well. Loads of YouTube videos that will help you through your training and getting to know the system. And we also have articles which explain the videos in a bit more detail. And they're all accessible to all our customers as and when required. If you do find that there isn't any training material on the thing that you're trying to do, then please let us know and we'll be happy to get that done and up on the Academy site for you. So whilst we do have great training material ready available, we also do have dedicated trainers in-house that can provide more formal training for customers and more specific training. And we do strongly recommend taking advantage of our on-site training days as part of the migration project, just to get all of you off to a flying start on Prospect 365. Whilst the database premise is the same in terms of the hierarchy and stuff, there are a lot of new features, and you know, it is a little bit different. It's more intuitive, but hopefully, you know, so they'll be able to find their way around. But there are a lot of features which definitely could do with some more specific training. So our trainers do come on site, and our training day is charged at £675, which is our points pack one, and you can find more information about that on our website as well. Equally, you can obviously speak to your account manager or one of the customer services team who will be able to take you through the prices and stuff in more detail. How does Prospect Soft 365 still integrate with my supported accounting system? This is a really good question, actually, and actually not much has changed here. So with on-premise accounting systems, we still use the Automation Manager, which sits on your server to complete the imports to and from your accounting system as it does at the moment. The Automation Manager functionality is actually unchanged. It's been updated to use some newer technologies, but essentially does the same job it does at the moment. It sits on your server, and it's the only thing that we actually do install on your server now. And you can still do all the things like managing your schedules and what data are imported and when, so all of that is still available. If you do have an on-premise accounting system, so things like, you know, Exchequer, Pegasus Access, and those kind of historical accounting systems, there are some limitations that we do now have with the live data that you're able to see in the CRM or Access, such as the order confirmation process. So from the CRM to the accounting system when you're confirming an order, this is actually now completed by an import routine from the automation manager, and it actually polls for quotes in a particular status of waiting to be confirmed. So it can delay the time that the order, when you click confirm order in Prospect Soft, it can delay the time it takes to actually view that in your accounting system. It's only up to a few minutes, so it shouldn't actually affect you too much. If you think this is going to affect you, then please talk to us. We have done some things for some customers which kind of remove that issue there. If you do have an accounting system that's fully hosted, such as Xero, then that delay isn't relevant, because we do actually have a live link as the hosted platforms can talk to each other directly. Okay, so I think now is probably a good time to open up some questions. You can do that. So on the GoToWebinar, you have a bar which you can expand. So if you expand that out, it does actually give you an area where you can type and ask questions. So if I just give you a couple of seconds to start typing, and we can get on with some of your live questions. Okay, I can see some people typing, so that's good. Let's give you a couple more seconds to get some through. Okay, so thank you for the questions that you're sending through. One that we've had through, so don't worry, they all remain anonymous as well. So if you want to ask a silly question, please go ahead. I won't name and shame. So what are the main differences between version 6 and Prospect 365? There actually are many differences. As I mentioned earlier, the premise is still the same in terms of the structure of the CRM, with your company division and contacts and stuff. But actually, there are loads of new features, lots of great stuff that we've done in the database. So it's a bit hard for me to list all of those on this webinar. I don't think any of you will have time. So I'll just maybe go through a couple that I think off the top of my head that I think would be important to customers. So one main thing is the pricing structure. So on 365, you're billed monthly per user rather than the version 6, which is currently an annual invoice that gets sent out, and you pay annually for that license. So it just means paying monthly. You have a lot more flexibility. So with adding and removing users, and you don't have any upfront costs for that either. So if you wanted to add a couple of users on for 1 month, you can go ahead and do that yourself without contacting Prospect Soft, and you just get billed as you use them, and you can remove them as you need as well. You also have the ability with that kind of new pricing structure. You have the availability of all of the core modules in 365. So rather than having to pay to add additional modules like you do in version 6, if you wanted to take advantage of the problem tracker module that you don't have at the moment, or you want to start doing marketing, in version 6 you actually have to pay for the license, and then that gets added to the system. But in 365 you get access to all of those. And I also mentioned earlier, the system has been completely rewritten from the ground up. So whilst the database structure remains the same, the interface is completely reimagined and more intuitive. And a lot of what we've done in Prospect 365 is from customer ideas, which we're also continuing to monitor and use for our new features list as well. There's a new screen customizer feature with the ability to add up to 30 database fields per record as required. So you can add database fields in now, and you can customize the screen with a lot more flexibility than you can in version 6. We've got a report builder tool, which is now included to allow you to kind of report and manipulate the data you've got in your CRM database without having to have too much technical knowledge. And you've also got quicker quote generation and the ability for doing more direct order entry if you do lots of repeat sales orders. It's a lot more stock aware features, such as improved available stock calculations, reserving stock ability, and pre-season quoting. As I said, there's lots more, and we have a full list of the new and improved features on our Prospect Soft migration page on our website. So definitely go and check that out. And if you do have more specific questions, then please let us know. Give the office a call, and someone will definitely be able to help you. So we've got another question here. Just read that. Okay, so the Exchequer. So someone's asked here about a hosted Exchequer version. Having that host in the cloud, it still works the same. It's still actually from what I'm aware, not fully hosted. We don't have the ability to do the live connection to that as we do with some other accounting systems like Xero. So you do still have the automation manager in place. And as I said, it's not actually changed in terms of how that works. The order confirmation will still have some delay. So it'll go into a state of waiting to be confirmed, and then once the poll goes back round in the circle and picks up that order, it will be confirmed into the system. That delay could be a few minutes, but it's fairly quick. So yeah, you do still need the automation manager installed for Exchequer. But we can discuss that in a bit more detail if you need to, in terms of what version that you're on at the moment on Exchequer. So I can come back to you on that bit and go through that in a bit more detail with you. So there is a day and order confirmation, but in general, that whole process works exactly the same as it does at the moment for you. In terms of having or needing a server on site still, yes, if you have on-premise software, I mean, you're saying that you're hosting Exchequer, that they're probably doing it on hosted servers for you. So in terms of that, you probably won't need that. You do need to also think about the other systems you've got in place as well. For Prospect Soft, no, you wouldn't need that, but we would need to put the automation manager on the hosted server where Exchequer is. So as long as we've got that ability, then you don't have to have your on-premise server, and also I assume that you're also going to be looking to host your Exchange as well. So if that is all in the cloud, then no, you would not need your on-site server specifically for Prospect Soft. So is there a rollback procedure following the migration? Great question. And yes, the migration procedure does include a rollback facility. We don't actually delete any version 6 databases as part of the migration process. The test drive process is in place to ensure our customers are able to do adequate testing prior to go live to hopefully remove any need to do the rollback if that isn't necessary. However, if you do, once you migrate, if you imminently find a showstopper after go live, we can put the rollback procedure in place and we can execute that for you. It's worth noting though that rolling back will mean you would lose any data that's been added to the CRM after the migration to Prospect 365. So after a day or two, the rollback just wouldn't be that feasible. But you know, after a few hours or maybe up to a day, there is a rollback procedure that we can execute. Is there any plans to stop supporting version 6? We actually have a fair number of customers still on version 6. We don't have any immediate plans to remove support for version 6 at all. We obviously will continue to support that whilst we've got customers on it. We're not actively developing the software in version 6 anymore, but we will be supporting it going forward, and we will give our customers plenty of warning should we decide to stop supporting that. But at the moment, there is no plan to do that. We don't want to be using customers that are on version 6 and can't move for any particular reason. So we will keep you updated as and when, but that would definitely be a few years off yet if there was a plan in place for stopping version 6 support. There is worth noting though on that point that there is a couple of areas that we use to write some software in version 6 that are no longer supported by our database provider. So that is the Power Builder and Informaker. So Informaker is used to write the reports and the additional tabs and stuff in version 6. So that is no longer supported from our database provider side. So we don't anticipate any issues for our customers straight away. That has been in place since January, and from what I know, that there has been no issues because of that support being removed. It's just worth noting that if Microsoft do an update that doesn't support the old versions of Informaker and Power Builder, there could be some issues with the reports and stuff that you have in the version 6 system. But we will obviously do our best to advise you where we can on that, but no immediate danger on that one. So another question here, how much does it cost to migrate to Prospect 365? So if you're happy to migrate to Prospect 365 with no configuration from Prospect Soft or any work to migrate bespoke features and so on, you can actually migrate with no consultancy cost at all. However, from experience, I would suggest at a very minimum you should buy some consultants time for on-site training, but most customers do take time for assistance with report builder, document migration, and some other system configurations. So there is definitely an opportunity for it not to require any project work, but most customers do find at least training useful. My suggestion would be to discuss this in more detail with your account manager or somebody at Prospect Soft in the team who will be more than happy to help discuss maybe what you might need and how much that might cost. It's also worth mentioning here, though, that the licensing costs of Prospect 365 are different to version 6. So I did mention earlier the structure has changed and you are billed monthly for users now. So most commonly for our current version 6 customers, it'd be £45 per user per month, which does include support. And again, with your account manager or with someone in the Prospect Soft team, we can go through a price comparison for you if you need us to. So please contact us and we can discuss that in more detail. Yes, so can I migrate in the middle of my version 6 contract? You can indeed. You can migrate whenever you're ready to do so. If it happens to fall during your version 6 contract, then we will credit you your account, we'll credit back to your account with consultancy points that equate to the prorated amount left on your version 6 contract. These can then be used on further training or system configuration or any other projects you might want to do after the migration. And then we just simply move you to 365 monthly pricing from your migration date onwards. So completely fine if you want to migrate during your current version 6 contract. There's no need to wait if you didn't want to. And a couple of other questions that are coming through. How long is the Prospect Soft, the Prospect 365 contract? It's a 12-month annual renewing contract, so same as version 6. So that the contractual period is for 12 months and then it renews annually from there. Okay, so we've got a question off the back of the migration during the version 6 contract. So my version 6 renewal is now due. I haven't done any 365 testing, but do not want to renew version 6 as I would like to migrate as soon as possible. Oh, brilliant. So pleased that you'd like to migrate to 365, obviously. If your version 6 contract is due for renewal now, then you can just renew your version 6. And again, once you are ready to migrate, we'll credit your account with the project points as mentioned. However, there is another situation or another option. So if you didn't want to do that and you wanted to kind of move on to the Prospect 365 pricing, you can do. We'll put you on pseudo pricing from your renewal date, which just moves you over to the monthly billing of per user cost. And then you can remain on your version 6 system until you've completed testing, etc. But you do get all modules. So whilst you're moving over to the 365 pricing and sticking with version 6, we will give you access to all of the modules in version 6 as well, so you can start using those prior to migration. It's also a really good option if you want to add any functionality or, as I said, about the modules, but also any users. So if you've got a couple of new users that you need and your renewal is coming up and you want to go to 365, then studio pricing is probably the option for you. You don't have to then pay any upfront costs for the version 6 license, for the licenses that you need on version 6. So that's a good option. And a couple more questions. I've got to see someone type in, so just answer that question. Okay, so the question that's just come through is, can I migrate some of my users to 365, such as my external team, but keep my internal users on version 6? Unfortunately not. There isn't any way to run the two systems in parallel. It would need to be a migration for all users, external and internally. They are separate systems. They are written on completely different databases with different software. So all users would need to be using the same database in order to share all the valuable data that you're input into the CRM. So it would be a complete migration. But as I said, it'd be really good for external users, but also there's a lot of internal functionality that internal users could use as well. So we should maybe have a look at the reasons why you want to, or you're asking about that in a bit more detail. Okay. So I don't know if anyone else has got any questions they want to ask, or I can see someone else just type in. Just bear with me, wait for that question to come in and we'll move on. Okay, let's stop typing. So let's move on if anyone else has got any further questions for now. Thank you all for your questions that you have asked and the ones that you sent prior to the webinar. If there is any other questions that you do have that you haven't asked today, or maybe I didn't pick up and you asked prior to the webinar, I will pick those up and I will get back to you on those ones if they didn't get into the webinar. If you do have any other questions following the webinar, then please get in contact with myself or the customer services team or your account manager at Prospect Soft, and we'll be happy to help you with any other questions that you've got about the Prospect 365 migration. Also, as I said, you've got quite a lot of material online. You can visit our website. You can use our online chat, Prospect Soft Academy, to learn more about 365. But we're here to help if you do have any questions, and we look forward to helping you through the migration process. Also, we do have loads of webinars running for different topics. If you would like to take advantage of those, please do sign up. You can do so by visiting our prospectsoft.com website /webinars. Just ask you for your email address and your details, and it will sign you straight up. Or equally, you can email someone at Prospect Soft or give us a call and we'll sign you up as well. If you aren't able to attend any webinars, we do send a copy out afterwards as well. So you won't miss anything if you do want to go to a webinar, but you don't have the time. So thank you all very much for your time today. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned a lot about 365 and the migration. As I said, please ask any questions that haven't been raised today or you think of after the webinar. We'll be happy to help. Thank you very much.